Set. Hello, my name is Keith Hickey. I'm Winchendon's town manager. To assist voters in preparation for the fall 2020 town meeting that will be held on October 28th this year, I will provide some background information over the next 30 to 45 minutes to assist voters in understanding what the 20 articles that will be considered at town meeting mean to you as a taxpayer and as a voter. I hope you find this information helpful, and if you have any questions at all, you can always reach out to, and call my office at 978-297-0085, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you may have. The first slide that I'd like to show you, which a lot of town meeting is based on, is where we stand with our free cash at the end of fiscal 2019. As the slide will indicate, we had $285,000 that we did not spend in free cash from last year. Our free cash for the fiscal year 2019 that ended June 30th was $1.524 million. So we have available free cash, we believe, has not been certified yet, but it will be certified before town meeting. But we feel very confident that our free cash will be at $1.809 million. I'll go through the different articles in a minute that are proposing to use some of the free cash. But just as a summary for you to begin with, I wanted to at least show what we had for free cash to start, some of the articles that we're seeking funding for using free cash at the fall town meeting, and then ultimately what our balance is anticipated to be after the town meeting if all of the articles we are requesting are approved. So as I mentioned earlier, we have $1.809 million to start with. As we work through the slides, you'll find that we're seeking money for engineering and architectural work for a fire station upgrade. We're requesting $200,000 of free cash for that. The Robbins Road culvert is a $780,000 project. The town received $500,000 from the state from a grant program called the Small Bridge Program. So our share of that is $280,000. And then, as many people are aware, on Central Street in fiscal 21, the summer of 21, the state of New Hampshire has awarded funding for the reconstruction of Central Street. That Central Street project, the state share of that right now is estimated at $5.1 million. There are some expenses that are not eligible to be part of the state project or funded by the state. We've got warrant articles for just over $600,000 using free cash that we'll get into during this discussion. You may be aware that the town is a Green Communities community. We applied again for Green Communities funds, and we're awarded nearly $200,000 in Green Community money. The replacement of the police station furnace is one of those Green Community grants. There was a local match of $15,000 for about an $80,000 furnace. We're looking to fund that $15,000 out of free cash. The senior center, as many of you know, we've identified or found that there are some bricks on the outside that have fallen off the building or at least are loose. There may be some additional issues behind those bricks. We'd like to hire an engineering firm to come in and do a study of the building to determine what, if any, long-term improvements or repairs need to be made to that historic building. I've shown $200,000 coming out of free cash for that. I believe that's a very high number. I'll have an exact number at fall town meeting that we can modify the motion for to address the actual number. And then the last two, obviously we've had a tough winter. We had a tough winter with our roads with the winter that we experienced. The Public Works Department has spent the lion's share of their highway supply money that is funding the repairs of roads. We're asking for another $20,000 so repairs can continue for the balance of the fiscal year. And then lastly, the school department had a larger than anticipated out-of-district placement cost in fiscal 2020. The school department provided over $200,000 to our free cash number this year. Rather than look to cut some of the school budget to make up the $124,000, I thought it was prudent to fund or request funding for $124,000 for the school. So that's a summary of our free cash, and we'll get into more of the details of that as we work our way through the presentation. Starting with Article 1 will be boards and committee reports. Typically, the Finance Committee has a report that they will share with the voters at the town meeting. I don't know that they've chosen a topic at this point, so I don't know, A, what the topic will be, or B, if there even will be one. But that's what that article is for. It may be passed over if we don't need it. Article 2 is to establish annual spending limits for all of our revolving loan funds. On the screen is the article itself with the 10 to 12 existing revolving loan funds that we have. By state law, we have to identify spending limits for each one of those. So we've established or are recommending spending limits for all of the revolving funds that we have. You can see the spending limits annually for those. This is more of a housekeeping item that we needed to deal with on an annual basis. These funds aren't expended until they're collected. Moving on to Article 3, one of the larger warrant article items we're seeking. I mentioned in the introduction that the town will be fortunate enough to have the state of New Hampshire come in and fund the majority of the road work to reconstruct Central Street. One of the items that they don't fund are water and sewer improvements as part of the project. While Central Street's being reconstructed, it's the recommendation of the Public Works Director and I that we replace the 100 or so year old water and sewer pipes under Central Street. We've had an engineering firm give us an estimate on what the costs associated with that would be. The costs associated with that are about $1.5 million. Obviously very expensive, but and what you'll see in Article number 3 is that we're seeking at this point $1 million to borrow from the water and sewer enterprise funds to replace those existing lines. It's about a $550,000 cost for water and $450,000 for sewer. The remaining $500,000 we'll talk about in a few minutes under Article 7. I'm seeking the voters' approval to use $500,000 of free cash to apply towards the cost of the water and sewer line replacement. By doing so and reducing some of the expenses that we had to budget for in the past in the water and sewer department to catch up on our maintenance that we no longer need to budget for, we're able to not have a water and sewer increase for this particular bonding cost, and I can show you that in a minute. I think it is important for people to be aware moving forward that there will be increases in the water and sewer rates that I assumed I'll be proposing as part of fiscal 2021's budget. We haven't had a rate increase in 2 or 3 years, and costs continue to increase for us, and water usage, good or bad, has dropped a bit over the past several years. But again, what you have on the screen in front of you now is a spreadsheet. I apologize if it's tough to see the numbers. It was tough to fit it on a slide. This is the best that I could do, but it shows the overall cost of the project being just under $1.8 million, $800,000 from water, $700,000 from sewer, and $305,000 in general. The general includes $160,000 for ornamental streetlights. Those ornamental streetlights are going to be funded, I hope, through a Robinson Broadhurst Foundation grant. I'll be applying for that grant later this fall and hope to hear that it was awarded sometime next spring. But as you can see, we've broken down the costs associated with the project and assigned those costs to the appropriate funding sources. And we'll talk a little bit about how we're going to fund the general portion in a couple of minutes. Again, we talked about, briefly about what the impact is going to be to water and sewer rates. And as you can see in the spreadsheet on this slide, if we bond $550,000 for the water department, the first year's debt service is $46,500. And the debt service first year for sewer is $38,500 based on borrowing $450 over a 20-year period. And the fiscal years are shown to your left. At the very bottom of the screen, there's a title, Proposed 2021 Budget Reductions to Fund the Debt Payment. And you'll see that in the water department, there are 4 accounts that we can reduce because we have addressed some of the backlog of the repairs that are needed, the total $46,500. And in the sewer department, there's one line item, sewer maintenance, or system maintenance, excuse me, that we can look to reduce in our fiscal 21 budget to offset the debt payment for the replacement of these water and sewer pipes. So there is no, again, as I mentioned, there is no impact to the water and sewer rates based on this project, but there may be other rate increases coming for water and sewer that are based on just other costs that we are unable to absorb any longer and need to potentially increase rates. We'll have a better sense of that probably the first 2 or 3 months of 2020. Article 4 is a debt exclusion. It's for the design, development, construction documents, and bidding of the fire station upgrades. As some of you may be aware, we have been studying upgrading our fire department now for a little while. The building that we have that houses the fire department was built for a call department. We've obviously blossomed from a call department to a full-time department made up of a number of employees, both male and female. There are a lot of deficiencies in that current building, not just inability to house all the equipment that should be inside the building, but also not having the appropriate locker rooms, sleeping arrangements, and sleeping quarters and things of that nature that are necessary in today's fire service. So what we're seeking is a debt exclusion for $853,200. This will fund the design work, the engineering work, and basically have this project go out to bid and be prepared to be awarded, the bid to be awarded, for the construction of the station, pending town meeting approval on the actual cost to build the station. As you'll see in a slide in a minute, the cost to build that station is, all told, $11 million, almost $12 million. It's being funded in 3 different segments. We're requesting the $853,000 as a debt exception in this particular warrant article. There's a second article requesting $200,000, and I think we talked about that at the beginning when we were reviewing free cash. That $200,000 will be funded through free cash, and then the estimated construction cost at this point is $10.8 million. So if town meeting were to approve the articles that will be considered at the October 28th special meeting, they would approve funding of $1,053,200 to provide the necessary work to actually come to a future town meeting with a winning bid in hand with an exact amount that we need to raise and appropriate to actually make the improvements to the station. So I think it's important for people to be aware that if they aren't going to be supportive of this particular station moving forward, just be sensitive that we don't want to spend $853,000 if people aren't going to support the construction of the station at some point in the future. The next couple of slides are going to be tough, honestly tough to see at home, but they are the layouts of the first and what would be a second floor at the new station. I will say that this station is going to remain at the existing location on Central Street. What you have in front of you now is the floor plan for the first floor of the station. You may be able to notice at the bottom of the screen, you see Central Street running left to right across the screen. Just above that, there are vehicles that look like they're parked Those are the existing bays in the existing fire department now. Those will remain. They are not built to fire code at this point, but can be used for vehicles that are not primary first response vehicles. So we would have vehicles in there like the dive team van, the forestry unit, things of that nature. The building would have a small conference room or community room that could be used. There would be offices for the fire department. There'll also be a separated area for the fire department to treat their fire gear when they come back from scenes. If there are cancerous agents in the clothes and whatnot, they want to keep those fragments or particles out of the whole fire station and keep them in an enclosed small section where the laundry facilities would be. That would be also included in the first floor. And then on the back of the building, off of North Street, construction of 6 new bays would be built. They would be single bays where you'd have to drive out and back in all likelihood in some cases, such as the ladder truck. These are new bays. These would be constructed to current fire department or fire building specifications and would exit off of North Street. The second slide is the second story of the building that will be constructed. Obviously, you still see the 6 bays. They're at the top of the picture. Those are the same 6 bays you saw on the first floor slide, and you'll have bunk quarters, kitchens, all of the things that the public, all the items or areas that the public does not need daily access to will be up on the second floor to provide places to stay for the firefighters who work 24 hours a day. Next, again, might be difficult to see on TV, so I apologize for that. What this is a bond schedule, a amortization schedule for bonding $11.8 million over 20 and 30 years. What does it mean? What it means to the average taxpayer, and what I mean by average taxpayer is the average single-family residence in town currently is assessed at $205,877. If your house is assessed at that value, and we borrowed $11.8 million for 20 years, the impact to your taxes would be about $300 a year. If we borrowed it for 30 years, which really is on the longer end of where we would want to borrow, the impact to your taxes would be $200 a year. So a little bit of a difference, but again, it's on the longer end of what we're trying to do. So moving forward, as I mentioned, there's Articles 5 through 10 are summarized on this slide, and they're requests for use of free cash. We talked a little bit about already the fact that in Article 5, we're looking to fund an owner's project manager, which is required for any project that would potentially be over $1.5 million. We estimate the cost of that to get these bid documents out and a bid prepared to be awarded at $200,000. Article 6 would be to fund Robbins Road Bridge capital account. This $280,000 is the town's share of the Robbins Road Bridge replacement. As I mentioned earlier, the Public Works Director applied for and was awarded the maximum grant amount of $500,000 from a small bridge grant program through the state of Massachusetts. The cost to actually do the work is $780,000. So we're requesting $280,000 come from free cash to provide the necessary funding for this project. On the next slide, you'll see what the budget is for this project. And it'll also have a picture of the existing Robbins Road Bridge. As you can see, it's made primarily of corrugated metal, galvanized metal, with some rock holding it in place. There are Jersey barriers on both sides of that bridge at this point, or culvert at this point, to as safety precaution for people to not drive off the road accidentally into the river. The architectural design for what the new bridge would look like is to the right in black and white. You'll notice that the round cylinder in the middle depicts the existing pipe that will be replaced by the rectangular opening that surrounds that semicircle existing pipe now. There'd be all concrete barriers up the sides, and then guardrails on both sides of the bridge for safety purposes. So much better bridge that will last anywhere between 50 and 100 years moving forward. We have the funds to supplement the small bridge grant that we received, and are happy to get a $780,000 bridge for $280,000. So moving back to Article 7, we are requesting $606,000 for the Central Street capital account. We've talked a little bit about that already. The $500,000 of that $606,000 is for reductions in the water and sewer impact, $250,000 each, and then the $106,000 is for some drainage work and some removal of fill and things of that nature that are not costs that are eligible for the state to fund through this project. So, the town share is just over $600,000. The state is funding $5.1 million, and then we're paying another $1.5 million for water and sewer improvements. So it's a huge project. It's again, we're funding just over $2.1 million, including water and sewer, and the state's funding, $5.1 million to reconstruct roads, build new sidewalks, have all the sidewalks be ADA compatible, and really clean up our downtown area to dress it up and make it much more walker and bicycle rider friendly than it is today. So we're excited about that. From Article 10, we're going to go to Article 11, which is the repairs to the MURDOCK Senior Center. As I mentioned earlier, the MURDOCK Senior Center, there are some bricks that have loosened. There may be some structural issues on a couple of the towers, the clock tower and the other tower. We don't know what the extent of the repairs that need to occur on that building are at this point. This $200,000, if approved, would come out of free cash, and it would fund an engineering study to determine what the long-term repairs to this building should be. Once we have the scope of work for the long-term repairs, I would suspect at the spring 2020 town meeting, we would have an article on the warrant for voters' consideration to make the repairs to the senior center. I don't have a solid firm number from the engineering firm yet. I have plugged in a number of $200,000, so the motion that is made, if this article were the motion we made for this article to be considered, will be to see if the town will vote to transfer and replace a sum of money with the actual dollar amount. I hope to have that dollar amount sometime a week or two before the special town meeting, so people are aware of what the cost is going to be for this project. Article 12 is an article for the wastewater department. We have realized some savings in our electricity account, in our contracted services account, totaling $40,000. Unfortunately, the vehicle that we have at the wastewater plant has become unreliable and is becoming more and more expensive to repair. The truck does plow in the wintertime, does plow the wastewater plant, and would be available to the Public Works Department in an emergency. We'd like to use the $40,000 savings to buy a new wastewater truck. Again, that truck would replace the truck that's there now. The truck would be used in many cases, in most cases, by employees of Veolia who are operating on a day-to-day basis the wastewater plant, but that truck would remain under the ownership of the town of Winchendon, and if we were to take that plant back over or a contract with another firm, that truck would stay with the town of Winchendon moving forward. So it's a capital need that we have that we would like to try to take advantage of if we can. Moving on to Article 13. Article 13 is seeking the voters' approval to authorize the Board of Selectmen to convey the Poland and Streeter School to another organization through bid, RFQ, or the like, for the sole purpose of redeveloping that site for low-income veteran housing. I and the planning director have been working with a government organization, the Montechusett Veterans Outreach Center, for a little while now, who have an interest in acquiring that site. They would leave the architecture of the two buildings nearly the same, I think, as it stands there today. There may be a building that would join those buildings constructed as part of it, but we would go out to bid, seeking bidders who are interested in acquiring these two buildings and redeveloping them into veterans housing. We think it would be a fantastic spot for it, great use of the buildings, and would provide some veterans some much-needed housing at an affordable cost in a good spot in town that would allow them to move around. It is long-term housing, it's not short-term housing. They expect between 26 and 36 units. So we're hoping that we have at least one interested party. I believe MVOC is one of those, and we could transfer ownership of those properties with the expectation that sometime in the near future they would be, the developers would be coming forward to the planning board with a plan to redevelop those properties for veterans housing. It's an exciting opportunity, an exciting project, and we're hoping it comes to fruition. Article 14 is a request to accept a piece of property that abuts the Winchendon Community Park on Maple Street, formerly known as Ingleside. The property has been for sale for a while. The Winchendon Community Park Committee submitted a grant application to Robinson Broadhurst for funding to acquire that property. Robinson Broadhurst funded that grant, so the funds are available to purchase the property abutting the community park. If this is approved, there's a purchase and sale already been signed. Pending town meeting approval, the transfer would occur, and that park would increase by several acres in the future. So it would just increase the usable space within that park, and there's a slide that tries to identify or tries to depict the property that's there. You'll see it's shaded in yellow. Looking at the screen, the large property with the white line going down the middle of it to its left is the current Winchendon Community Park property. The parcel that's highlighted in yellow is the parcel that we're trying to obtain. There would be no tax impact to the voters because this is a Robinson Broadhurst grant. And if this property was to be acquired, it would ensure the unique forest trail that abuts the property now will remain in its natural and serene state for visitors in the park. Article 15 is some language to clarify how the days are counted for deadlines for voter registration and things of that nature. Right now, unless we adopt this Massachusetts General Law 41, we count Saturdays as days that voters can come in and sign up to vote, register to vote. What we're trying to do with this article is to exclude Saturdays, so we don't have to staff the office on Saturdays, and extend the period of time that we are required by law to open the voting registration for out a day or two, so Saturdays wouldn't be counted, so it would just move that much earlier in the calendar year so people could come in and vote. It's really just a housekeeping thing. We haven't been open on Saturdays to vote for some time, so we're just trying to address and get the statute accepted so we do not have to continue to remain open on Saturdays. Article 16. There are 4 articles from past town meeting votes approving debt. These 4 articles, or a balance of these 4 articles, and the balance to be rescinded is in the article, is the column on the far right of the page. We're looking to rescind authorization because the project is done and we have extra money, or in some cases, like the septic system and the school generator, we can't get those projects done for the amount requested. So we're seeking to rescind those to kind of clean up our debt, the debt we have in our books, and prepare ourselves in the next year or so for the bonding agencies to come in and determine what rating the town would have. And if we can eliminate, nearly $500,000 in unissued debt, that may help us improve our debt rating, or our bond rating, and reduce our interest rates for future bonds. Article 17 through 20 are planning board articles. I'll try to explain those to the best of my ability. Article 17 is to eliminate a golf residential overlay district. There's a map that we'll show you in a second that identifies where that district is right now. It was adopted as a result of potential development of a golf course that included some residential amenities. That development never came to fruition and is no longer needed. So we're looking to just remove that overlay district from our existing zoning because we don't anticipate that golf course will ever arise in the future. Article 18 is looking to put an overlay district around Lake MONOMONAC, or at least portions of Lake MONOMONAC. There have been a number of different requests through the zoning board for setback waivers from side and front setback waivers. What the planning board discussed was to try to address those waivers moving forward, modifying the setbacks to reduce the number of waivers that are being requested by the zoning board. This article would address those. There's a map, again, shown on the screen that shows where the overlay district would be. And there is much more detail on the description of the article itself on the town's website, if people have an interest in seeing more of the text of the article and what the intent of those articles, of what that article is intended to do. Article 19 is to modify the role of the zoning board in town. Right now, if the if you go in front of the zoning board for some type of a special permit and the zoning board denies your request, your ability to appeal that, that appeal goes to the state of Massachusetts. The problem with that really is it takes longer, and it's going in front of a board that may not really have any appreciation for what you're trying to do in Winchendon. So what the Planning and Zoning Board are proposing is to allow the Planning Board to be the special permit granting authority and allow them to hear any special permit requests that a property owner may want to ask for. And what that does is it allows the appeal to now go to the zoning board rather than go to the state of Massachusetts. What that does in my mind is it keeps the appeal local, so the people who are determining whether or not to grant the appeal or overturn the appeal are local. They understand the process, they understand the issue, and they may be able to visit the site. It also will take less time than waiting for the state of Massachusetts to provide some type of a decision on what the appeal is intended to do. Lastly, is an article to amend the marijuana facilities retail overlay district. The retail overlay district was approved in the spring of 2019. The planning board, after hearing testimony from some individuals, are looking to eliminate the area shown on the map. It has to do with a business that was originally going to construct a marijuana facility, and that was stuffing things. We're looking now to eliminate that section of the district and expand the district up near Route 140 and 12 towards the Hillview Business Park to allow for potential retail facilities up in that area. The town still only allows 3 permits, so that's not going to change, but the location of the potential location of the 3 stores, if they were to open, would have the ability to change. So with that, that is a brief explanation. I know it's a lot of information of the special warrant articles that will be considered on October 28th. The meeting is going to be held at the high school auditorium at 7 o'clock in the evening. I would hope that people would take an hour or 2 out of their schedule to vote on some very important issues that we're bringing forward to the voters this year. I hope that these explanations have provided a better understanding to everybody about what we're trying to do and why. If there are additional questions that you have, you can always visit me in my office during the week. You can call me at 978-297-0085, or you can email me at khickey@townofwinchendon.com. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you may have. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that this was helpful to you, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great day.